Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're watching from, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Whistle. Today, we are refereeing Tewkesbury Town FC versus Rodborough Old Boys. If you're new around here, my name's Eric. I'm a level 6 referee, and I take you in the day in the life of what it's like to be a grassroots referee. If you enjoy this type of content, and you've been watching for a few weeks, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you very, very much for your support. As you can see by the league table, Tewkesbury Town are absolutely flying. This is their second to last game, and it is a must win if they want to give themselves the chance of securing the title. This is my first time refereeing both of these teams, so I don't have much to go off other than the fact that I have refereed Tewkesbury's reserves and their third team a couple of times before. I feel very honoured to be given such a big game. I've only done a couple of games on this division so far, and my first game was with Wadden United, who are second in the league. And now my second one is Tewkesbury Town, who are first. So, big game, let's deliver a good performance, and we'll go through my kind of pre-match thoughts in the car on the way. Just like Saturday, I've got a bit of nervous energy again. And I don't mind it at all. I don't mind it. I'm very used to the feeling. I had a couple of people message me and ask about it, about how I deal with it when I feel nervous and stuff. And I just thought I'd touch on it. I played football majority of my life. I played for fun as a kid, played for a local team, then ended up playing professionally for a few years as well. So I got very used to the idea of feeling nervous and feeling pressure. I just embrace it. Don't get me wrong, there is always a level of it where it can be overwhelming, but I always think if you're not nervous, you don't care, right? If you really care about what you're about to do, and you're excited, you're going to feel that little bit of nervousness. But a good friend of mine actually said that being nervous and being excited is the same thing. It's just all about how you interpret it. And I think about that a lot, to be fair. So, my fellow Brits will know exactly what I've just bought, and that is a meal deal. For you Americans, if you don't know what a meal deal is, you are missing out. In all the major supermarkets in the UK, you can get a meal deal for about £3 to £3.50, which is about $5. And that gives you a sandwich, a drink, and a snack. Unbelievable value, can't beat it. Anyway, back to the game. Tewkesbury are top of the league. They've got 2 games left, and if they win both, then they will be crowned champions and be promoted to the Gloucestershire County League. Wadden United, who I refereed 2 weeks ago, and if you've not watched the vlog, I'll link the vlog just here, they are second. Now, if Wadden win the rest of their games, they are champions. So, Tewkesbury play Rodborough tonight, which is what I'm refereeing, and then in a week and a half's time, Tewkesbury and Wadden actually play each other. So, Tewkesbury just need to win both of these games to be champions, and Wadden need to win all of their games to be champions. I've never refereed a game that's got, I guess, this much on it in terms of adult football, so I'm really looking forward to it. It should be good. We just arrived at the ground, but it's locked. It's an hour and 20 minutes before kickoff. There are players from one of the teams here though, so I'm definitely in the right place. Hopefully someone turns up. So, just finished the game. Apologies about the lighting, it's very dark. Tewkesbury came out the 3-1 winners. It was a real tough game actually. There was a lot of pressure from the players in that game, but I felt like I dealt with it really well. I'm sure I made mistakes in the game, but in the grand scheme of things, I really feel like I dealt with the occasion and dealt with the type of game really well. I was definitely more assertive tonight and intentionally more assertive, and it was interesting. The players actually respected it for the most part. So I think I would definitely take that line again in future games as I move through the levels. Only 2 cards, one for delaying the restart, one for the home coach for entering the field of play. Other than that, we kept a lid on the game really well. I felt like we chatted to players really well. We were able to build some rapport and then that way build some respect, and it prevented anything getting out of hand. There won't be a ton to review in regards to cards, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot to review in terms of my positioning and certain things like that, so we'll be able to dive into that. Time to review the footage. Now, before you mention it in the comments, no, I'm not wearing lipstick, all right? I've been on a golf weekend away in Wales, and although I put sun cream on my face, I forgot about my lips, okay? And the elements got the better of me. Let's jump into it. So we kick off, and as you can probably see, the sun is wreaking absolute havoc. And this is the same for the camera, and for me, and for the players. This game was played at night, after work, so we kicked off around 7 o'clock. So the sun was setting right on this time, so it was really, really awkward. So apologies about the quality of the video. 4 minutes into the half, we got our first penalty claim. It's a soft one, but we'll cover it anyway. So as the yellow number 7 runs into the box, you'll see the defender shoulder barge him, challenge him for the ball. There's a couple of shouts for a penalty, and you should be able to hear me say, no, no, lads, no, come on. The reason I've done this is because it's clearly not a penalty. It's shoulder to shoulder, which is a totally fair challenge for the ball. And I wanted the lads to know that you will not get any type of fouls like that from me, and there's no point even shouting for them. So that's why I've told them, like, no, 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 come on. Almost to be like, let's be serious. It's never ever a foul. So very shortly after that, we got our first corner of the game. If any of you watched last week's vlog, you'll see that my position around corners wasn't, let's call it optimal, right? It wasn't very good. So I met with my coach last week. We went through some pointers, and one of the things we picked up on is my position around set pieces. So it's something that I'll be working on through the coming weeks, and hopefully you'll see a difference in this game. So as that corner comes in, we make a small movement round to make sure that we get an angle on what's about to happen. You'll see that as the shot comes in, we're in an absolutely perfect position to make a decision on the handball shout. So you'll hear that there are a few shouts for handball, and we're in a perfect position to see and make the decision. For me, it was not handball. It did strike the defender's arm. However, his arm was way against his body. It was not in an unnatural position in any way. And so for me, this is not handball. But more importantly, we've adopted a much better position outside of that edge of the D, and we're in a much better position to make a decision. So this section is for you. How do you do, Chief? You mentioned in a video a couple of weeks ago to have asked if I could cover the rules around a high foot. So here we are. You'll see here that both players challenge for the ball with a relatively high foot, right? And a lot of people will ask for this as a foul. However, in the laws of the game, there isn't actually such thing as a high foot. What this comes under is whether the player is playing in a dangerous manner. And a high foot is an example of a way that you could play in a dangerous manner. So you might be thinking, all right, Eric, that's great, but what is playing in a dangerous manner? Well, playing in a dangerous manner is playing in a way that causes somebody to be scared of playing the ball in a normal way due to being scared of getting injured. So yes, a high foot can be playing in a dangerous manner, but a high foot by itself, isolated, is not an offence. Otherwise, we wouldn't be allowed amazing things like bicycle kicks, for example. I hope that clears it up. Here we have an offside where the Tewkesbury defender is very upset that his club assistant hasn't given an offside. According to the laws of the game, you can only be offside if you are in your opponent's half. So regardless if you are further forward than the second last defender, if you're in your own half, you cannot be offside. Now you might be thinking, is the halfway line part of the opposition's half or not? According to the laws of the game, it's not. Now I actually had to check this because I was unsure, because for a penalty, for example, the line is part of the penalty area. So if there's a foul that happens on the line, that is classed as a penalty. Whereas for offside and the halfway line, it is not. So a player must be past the halfway line to be offside. Now movement is something that's obviously infinitely important as a referee, and something that I'm constantly trying to work on. Let's take a look at the movement here from the corner. So touching back on the corner positioning again, before that ball comes in, you'll see that all of the players are crowding the goalkeeper. Usually means that the goalkeeper's going to be impeded, there's going to be a lot of pushing and shoving, so you want to kind of elevate your presence in that moment. So rather than standing out on the edge of the box, I've gone in line with the penalty spot, so about 12 yards out, so that the players know that I'm right on top of it and I'm looking at what's about to happen. Before the ball comes in, we make a steady walk back to make sure that we don't actually crowd that area when the ball does get delivered, which is a great thing because the goalkeeper parries it out and ends up collecting it from exactly where we were stood before. There's a small foul on the goalkeeper, but as the goalkeeper's still got the ball in his hands, we let it go and just tell the lads to play on, so that way we don't have to break up play. For the most part, in this first 30 minutes, the game's been relatively uneventful until Rodborough go on the attack and have the first chance of the game. This goal really did change how I thought about the game from this point on. Up until this point, Tewkesbury had probably had about 65-70% of the ball. So they were actually dominating the game. They'd had a lot of half chances, most of the set pieces, things like that. However, now Rodborough have scored and gone 1-0 up. It means that the underdogs are leading and Tewkesbury are obviously chasing a win for their title chance. From this point on, I was even more heightened to make sure that I was on top of things that were happening, to make sure that nothing got out of hand. So for those of you that have watched the vlogs over the past few weeks and have been supporting the channel for a while, you'll know that I don't really mind a bit of contact and a good level of tussling for the ball. Here we have a 50-50 battle where I give a foul. So as that ball comes over the top, bouncing, you'll see that both players are tussling for it side to side. The reason I've given the foul is because the yellow Tewkesbury striker has put his arm over the defender's shoulder, kind of around his neck. And for me, that's not kind of a natural place for there to be contact. Unfortunately, the Tewkesbury striker is just a lot bigger than him. So by default, when he puts his arm out, it's going to be around the guy's kind of upper area of his body. But for me, this is a foul, and that's why I've given it. Then just a couple minutes later, we give another foul against the same player. So the ball is about to go out for a corner and they come together, but as you can see, the Tewkesbury player makes contact in the defender's back. Now, if this was, again, shoulder to shoulder, a more fairer challenge for the ball, I probably would have let it slide. I don't mind a bit of contact. However, for me, this is a push in the back, and so that's why I've given a foul. You can see that the player is visibly upset. However, you will hear the Tewkesbury manager telling him that it is a foul, and really a needless one at that. With about 5 minutes left before half time, Tewkesbury get an equaliser from a corner. Shortly after the goal, we have a foul on the edge of the Tewkesbury area. Now, sometimes when you're refereeing, players crowding the referee can be an issue. And this is exactly what happens to me here. So there's a small tug on the striker's arm. He then plays the ball out to his teammate and at the same time gets fouled after he plays the ball. We play advantage because the striker's got a great opportunity to drive into the box. However, the club assistant then flags for offside. We then bring the foul back because there's no advantage, and that's when I get crowded by the players. Now at the start, there's only one player talking to me, explaining how can it be a foul, he's had a shot, he's missed, and I'm explaining that it's offside. We then back away a little bit so that the players aren't crowding a lad that's down on the floor. But now you'll see that I've got 4 players around me questioning the decision. So what I do here is I move away and tell the lads that it's a free kick. Now the reason I've given a free kick is because I played the advantage. No advantage has actually occurred because he's offside. So we bring it back for the foul. Thankfully, eventually the Tewkesbury players kind of sort themselves out and they move back. But in this situation, I should have been more assertive, telling them to move away, not to crowd me, or I'd be issuing a yellow card. There was a new directive coming into the game this year that only 2 players maximum could talk to the referee, with one of them being the captain. However, they weren't aggressive in their nature. They just kind of walked over to understand why I'd given what I've given. But yes, if this was to happen again, I would deal with it slightly differently. Nothing comes from the free kick, and that is half time. A relatively uneventful first half. It's 1-1. The game's been played in relatively good spirits. We've had no bad tackles or anything like that. The second half brings its own challenges, so let's jump into those. About 15 minutes into the second half, Tewkesbury get a throw in and make it 2-1. So now that it's 2-1 to Tewkesbury, again, how I'm thinking about the game has started to change a little bit. Beforehand, We were worried about it getting out of hand because Rodborough were defending a lead and Tewkesbury would be chasing it. However, now Tewkesbury have gone 2-1 up, so we need to be mindful of what their mindset might be. They'll likely look to slow the game down a lot, so we need to make sure that we're really focused on making sure that players don't delay the restart and things along those lines. So as things happen in the game and as the scoreline shifts, we need to think about what we need to focus on a little bit, because that will change with the game. We mentioned about being mindful of delaying the restart, and then just 10 minutes later, this is exactly what happens. You'll see that the ball goes out for a goal kick, and the goalkeeper just deliberately kicks the ball through the gate, so it takes him longer to get back for the goal kick. We're looking right at him when this happens, and so we head over and show him a yellow card. Leading up to this incident, I had already encouraged him to get it moving a little bit from goal kicks, as he was taking a lot longer than he was taking in the first half. I played in goal, both semi-professionally and professionally, for years, so I know exactly what was going through his mind. And although I don't blame him, I still do have to show a yellow card for delaying the restart. 15 minutes before the final whistle, Tewkesbury score this brilliant goal to make it 3-1. Five minutes after that, we give a penalty to Tewkesbury. So as the ball comes in, you'll see there's a little nudge from the Tewkesbury striker, and the Rodborough defender throws his arms up in the air and the ball hits them. As his arms are above his head, which in my opinion is a completely unnatural position, we issue a penalty. The reason he's thrown his arms up in the air is because he believes he's been fouled. However, for me, there was not really enough contact for there to be a foul. Yes, he's slightly leant into him, but for me, this is all part of footballing contact, and it's not a blatant push in my eyes. Do you guys think this is a foul? Do you think it's a penalty? Let me know in the comments. Unfortunately, what happens after that, Rodborough, the home team's coach, enters the field of play and is shouting, asking me if it's not a foul. As he's left his technical area and entered the pitch, we show him a yellow card. Now, typically at this level, we don't have technical areas, so I don't usually issue an offence for stepping on the pitch, in general, because, you may have only a foot of room, so you're naturally going to step on. However, the manner in which he's done this is why I've issued the yellow card. The Rodborough goalkeeper makes a great save to keep it at 3-1, but did you notice something? As the penalty is happening, a Tewkesbury Town player sneaks around the side of the box ready for a rebound. However, all players must be behind the ball when the penalty is taken. So yes, you're allowed to line up around the side of the box, but only up until the point of the penalty spot. I did not know this before watching it back until I saw him and thought, what a weird place to stand. Is he even allowed to stand there? So I looked it up and you're not allowed. So if Tewkesbury would have scored this, it shouldn't have counted anyway. Crazy. You learn something new every day. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is full time. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. And as always, I'll see you next week.